It's a beautiful spring Saturday in Benton County. I'm on a pristine 185-acre farm near Big Sandy and observing the activities at the Tennessee Boat School.
A boat school? How do you come to learn how to build a boat? And they just kind of don't believe that it's possible. But that's exactly what it is, and it's a good confidence builder, and you end up with a boat too. So most people don't realize that it is something you can do.
And building a boat is exactly the order of the day. With those first pieces of wood, it's hard to imagine that we'll actually float a boat by late afternoon. But Jenny Whitehead is here to do it and to prove that anyone can.
When you get 70 or over, you ought to do something new. And I'd never built a boat before. And the third reason, because I have two great-grandsons, and I think they'd have a lot of fun, and I'd like to leave them something. I know I really enjoyed the crazy quilt that my great-grandmother made for me, and they'll probably enjoy this boat just as much, if not more.
We're going to put a stringer inside here, right? Now, since this is at an angle, we want to be able to get this, we're going to plane the outside of this down so the bottom sits flat.
Carl has been a boatwright for several decades. He has built vessels of varying sizes, including private yachts and sailboats.
I've been building boats for 30, 40 years, ever since I was 12. And my wife says, why don't you teach somebody else how to build these boats? Well, okay, that's fine with me. So we went to one of the other boat building schools, and it was really something to see the people actually being able to build their own boat and floating the boat at the end of the day. I said, yeah, I can do that. So here we are. We're really showing people how to build the boats. People don't believe they can do it, but they really do it. This one is going to be about, it's going to start right about here. We don't know exactly where until we get it in there, because you're going to have a little more curve. So let's put it right here. Let's start at this area. Okay, let's make the first cut right there.
Today, Carl will lead two teams of boat builders from planks to paddling, using glue, nails, and hand tools.
Today they're making 16-foot pirogues. That's like a canoe, really, made out of yellow pine plywood. Very simple a design, but yet very sturdy. And we started this morning, and about 4 o'clock or so, we'll put them in the water and they'll paddle around. So they'll take their boat home tonight that they actually built. I had all the parts cut out for them so they wouldn't have to epoxy the parts together, like to scarf the plywood. I did that yesterday. So they basically assemble and fit the pieces together and come out with a real boat.
We sort of have a little competition going. We've got another group here that are building the same boat, and Anthony and I are trying to do better, faster. I don't know if we're going to win any contest or anything, but if they both float, then they're okay.
Throughout the morning, the individual pieces slowly take on the shape of a boat. From outside the boat barn, you can hear the chickens, a reminder that we're on a real farm.
We were living in South Florida for 15 years, and it got very overwhelming and, in fact, a little bit dangerous with road rage and so on. So we decided to move to the country. We went to Gainesville, Florida, which is North Florida, home of the Gators, and we were there for 5 years on a small farm. And we decided that we really liked that lifestyle very much, but we then wanted a little bit more of a seasonal change. So we went on a hunt looking for the perfect farm, and we looked at 114 farms, and this was the 115th, and we bought it. We liked the idea that there was some roll to the land, and the people here are very friendly in Benton County, and we decided to make this our home.
We started farming about 7 years ago in North Florida, and I've never had animals before, and somehow we got one cow and decided, well, we're going to have more, and sure enough, we had more. So moving here, this is just bigger. We can have more animals, and I enjoy the animals. They all have their own character, their own personality. And it's nice to come out and talk to them, and sometimes they talk back. But and they do cut the grass. All the cows cut the grass, and they're just nice to have around.
The farm is actually part of the equation. Build a boat and enjoy the country. Debbie calls it agri-entertainment.
It's a relatively new concept, and it's catching on with great enthusiasm. People from the city are encouraged to come to the country and enjoy a day or two of fun in the country. In our particular thing, they would come to our farm, named Grandview, and they would build a boat, and then they get to float it on our 10-acre pond. But while they're here, they could enjoy the cows and take a little bit of a walk, see the chickens, and so on. Other farms may have hay rides, corn mazes in the fall, a pumpkin patch, and a variety of other things depending on what's pertinent to that particular farm. And it's a way to get people back out of the cities and into the country and see a little bit about why we enjoy country life so much.
If you had children, it'd be nice to do this as a family, to get the whole family into it. Because there are some parts that little ones can do just as well as the older children, like the clamps. They could do that. They could help hold, they could measure, these kind of things. So it could include just everybody.
Building these boats in 1 or 2 days is about another alternative for family vacations. Instead of going to some of the theme parks, they could come to the country, build a boat, and it's creating a memory much like they would do if they went on some of the adventure rides and so on and so forth, or go to a dude ranch. When they're finished, they actually have a tangible product like this boat, and it's going to be filled with fingerprints from the glue and bent nails and that the people have hammered in, and the wood will be, hammered and dented, and they're going to be able to say, "Oh, gee, Grandpa, you put that nail in, and that's crooked, and look, Jamie, here's your fingerprints," and they'll be able to keep this treasure for many years, and it'll become a wonderful keepsake.
One day the farm may include a bed and breakfast, but today the boats remain center stage. Approaching lunchtime now, the boats are really taking shape.
It's just been grand. I mean, I had no idea what went into building a boat of any size. I've learned a lot today.
Carl Weinert is a talented guy, one of those rare hands-on mavens who seems to do it all, from remodeling their home to rebuilding the automobiles. Carl built the large barn, which boasts 50 symmetrical windows for natural light. It also houses a complete machine shop where Carl turns custom parts for himself and his neighbors.
This old truck, this is my wife's truck. She has the new one. Mine's 10 years older. But we go in the car parades, and sometimes we have our own car parade. I drive the Model A Ford, and she drives the truck. And I just enjoy these old mechanical things and know how to fix them.
He grew up in a family of water people, and at the age of 2 weeks old, he was put on a surfboard out in Ocean City, New Jersey, and ever since he's been on the water. He built a number of small little crafts, as children do, out of wood with his brother and sister, but at 12 they decided to build a boat, his dad, Carl, his brother and sister, and they began by nailing the sawhorses to the dining room floor, and of course Mother was like all aghast, if you can imagine. And ever since, he's been building boats.
After a pleasant lunch and conversation, it's back to the boats, and the anticipation of paddling around the lake is building.
Anthony and I are going to paint the boat. We decided that first of all, we were going to have flowers all over it and everything. Then Anthony says, "Are you sure you wouldn't reconsider?" And I said, "Well, how about a shark?" So he said, "We're going to put a shark on the bow, and going to paint it gray. Oh, it's going to be fun."
Carl came to Big Sandy School for a career day and brought one of the bigger boats. And I'd had an interest already when they said he had a boat builder coming. I said, "I want him in my room." That's where it comes from.
Pretty neat. This fella's done quite a few different boats now, look different, and all of them are interesting. It's got little ones, big ones, sailboats. It's gonna be pretty neat. I think I'll make a couple of the other ones just as a hobby now.
Well, I've learned that you need a helper, and Anthony Dixon is here helping me today, thank goodness, when when Debbie and Carl says, well, you better have a helper with you. You can't do it alone. They surely were right. You've got to have somebody to help you hold while you clamp, somebody that would help hold when you measure and saw. Now, Anthony's doing the sawing. I tried.
I saw you doing some sawing.
I know it. And that was ridiculous. I think he had to do it over again after. Oh, but they have some kind of glue that I didn't know what they would use to be able to float a boat in one day. You know, it had to be quick drying. So they've used this, I guess you'd have to ask Carl what it is, what epoxy is, some kind of epoxy that dries fast enough and seals well enough to fly.
At about 4:30, it was time for the float test. With the boats loaded onto the trailer, Jenny and the gang donned their life jackets and headed for the lake.
Wonderful. It's nice to see somebody make something and actually go and use it.
Oh, it was great. It was just marvelous. Never had such fun. And you know, there's 12 deer over there, and we saw beaver, and they had eaten trees down to just, you know, there's just that much holding them before they fell. That's why we paddled the heck out of there before that tree fell on us. Anyway, it was great. A great experience. Wonderful. Never did believe that I could build a boat with help or otherwise. Had a good time.